What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today I wanted to do a full-on revisit of the DG58 LSW LMG in Modern Warfare 3, because just in case you guys missed it, this gun got some massive buffs with the Season 3 Reloaded update. And it turns out the aftermarket part, the Jak Nightshade kit for this, also got some buffs that weren't mentioned specifically in the patch notes. So first we're going to do a recap of all of these adjustments that took place, and then I'm going to be sharing my new favorite setups to use with these, and in my opinion, these are some of the best setups in the game at the moment. So this went from being my least favorite LMG to suddenly, by far, my favorite LMG in the game. So let's dive into the recap of the base version of this gun without the kit. And the first thing they did here is they gave it a 4-shot kill potential in the maximum damage range, as long as all 4 shots hit the torso or arms, which is reasonably easy to do. So now we have a time to kill potential of just 255 milliseconds to the body, which is an incredibly fast time to kill in this game. That's going to be highly competitive against SMGs in close quarters situations. Then beyond that, it's going to be a guaranteed 5-shot kill. You'll never drop off to a 6-shot kill anymore, which means even at longer ranges, this is a very solid gun. And this is partially due to the fact that we also saw a very nice recoil reduction, as you can see here, pre-patch versus post-patch. While this still isn't the most accurate gun in the game, it's definitely a lot more accurate than it was before this update. And with a couple attachments, you can really get this into a solid place recoil-wise. So that's the base gun, and I already covered all of those details in the weapon balance video from last week. However, what I didn't cover, since it wasn't mentioned in the patch notes, is the Jak Nightshade Rifle Kit for the DG58. And with this one, it actually got a total damage rework, as well as a ridiculous reduction to recoil. But first, let's have a look at our new range profile here. And as you can see here, pre-patch, we could only get a 5-shot kill with this kit within 12.1 meters, and then beyond that, it would be a 6 to 8-shot kill, whereas now, our 5-shot kill potential extends beyond 40 meters, and then it just drops off to a 6-shot kill. It doesn't drop all the way off to an 8-shot kill like it did previously. So in both close quarters as well as long ranges, this gun is significantly better. And on top of that, in that maximum damage range now, if you mix one headshot in with upper torso shots, you can actually cut this down to a 4-shot kill for a 210 millisecond time to kill, which is extremely fast in this game. And it's worth noting, previously with this kit, we dealt the same amount of damage everywhere in the body and the head. We didn't even have a headshot multiplier, whereas now we have both an upper torso and arm shot multiplier as well as a headshot multiplier. So I would say with this update, even though the base DG58 got pretty big buffs, the kit was buffed by an even larger margin here. And that's especially true when we look at the recoil comparison. As we can see, recoil-wise, this is effectively an entirely different gun after this update. It's got significantly less recoil than it did pre-patch. And again, while I wouldn't consider this the most accurate gun in the game, it's so much easier to control now than it was pre-patch, and you can actually stretch your ranges out a fair amount, whereas pre-patch, this was only really good in super close quarter situations. And now that we have those buff details out of the way, let's get into my new favorite setups with the DG58, and the first one I wanted to share is with the base version of the gun without the kit, and this is my stealth build. So with this, we're using the new Scratch 20L suppressor, which I just recently did a full breakdown on. This is the new best suppressor in most cases for most guns. We also have the SL Skeletal Vertical Underbarrel to help with handling, as well as a little bit of vertical recoil control. We're using the Jak Glassless Optic, since this gun does benefit from that little bit of extra firing aim stability. We also have the recoil reduction stock, and then the FSS Last Stand comb. And with this gun, you can see it's quite accurate. You can definitely stretch your ranges out fairly far with this. Sure, you're going to get a little bit of random side-to-side bounce here or there. So it's not an absolute laser beam, but it holds its own just fine at really long ranges when it comes to recoil. Our aim down sight speed is very reasonable for an LMG with a 60-round mag at 288 milliseconds, and our sprint out time is nicely improved here as well at 192 milliseconds. That's great for an LMG, and to top all of that off, of course, we're staying off the radar by using that suppressor, so this just makes a really nice, balanced, versatile, all-around build. You can be somewhat aggressive with it, not as aggressive as an SMG, but you can at least get around the map reasonably aggressively, and you can still challenge gunfights quite effectively at longer ranges. So that's the first build, and I've been finding a ton of success with this after the update. Next though, of course, I wanted to share an aggressive build while using that Jak Nightshade Rifle Kit. And with this particular setup, I really like using the ZEM35 compensated flash hider, once again that Jak Glassless Optic, and the recoil reduction stock, and then finally the Varanus Steady Grip. And with this one, you can see we have a very accurate gun on our hands. It's actually more accurate than my previous build, so you can stretch those ranges out just fine. Our aim down sight speed is competitive with SMGs at 208 milliseconds, and our sprint out time is very good for an LMG. Honestly, that's really good even for an assault rifle. It's approaching SMG level sprint out times, but it's not quite there. at 155 milliseconds. And this actually makes for what I consider to be a very good assault rifle SMG style hybrid build. I know it's technically still an LMG, but with the stats of this, it does fit that role nicely between an SMG and an assault rifle. You can be hyper aggressive with this build. You've got a great base time to kill potential to the body at 280 milliseconds. But more importantly, if you can manage to mix that one headshot in within 19 meters, you're going to be practically untouchable with that 210 millisecond time to kill. And honestly, it's not that difficult to do that with how accurate this setup is. And to top all of that off, by using that ZEM35 compensated flash hider, while we still do show up on the radar when firing our gun, the radar signature won't be lasting as long as if we were firing a typical unsuppressed weapon. So this is one I highly recommend giving a shot after this update. I consider this to be a meta build for public matches at the moment. However, I did also want to point out just an alternative to this build. It's basically the same build, but you can swap out that muzzle for the Scratch 20L suppressor if you want to be stealthy and stay off the radar while still being aggressive. And if you do that, sure, the gun will be slightly less accurate than the previous build that I just shared. However, if you're using it at mainly close to mid ranges, it's still more than accurate enough to handle those situations. And we do get a slightly faster aim down sight speed at 203 milliseconds if you do that. Now that difference I would say is pretty much negligible, but mainly I just wanted to point out you can stay off the radar if you're willing to sacrifice a bit in the recoil control department. And with that, that's pretty much it. I would say this is one of the biggest glow-ups we've seen for a gun so far in Modern Warfare 3's life cycle. Like I said, this used to just be a below-average gun. Like, it was usable, but it was never really good, and I always considered it to be the worst of the Modern Warfare 3 LMGs, and that's just no longer the case. This is now, in my opinion, by far the best LMG in the game, and that's without the kit. When you add the kit into the equation, this is now going to be better than most of the assault rifles in the game as well. And if you guys haven't tried this gun out yet since the Season 3 Reloaded update, I highly encourage you to do so. Try out both of these builds, and I think you're going to fall in love with at least one of them. And of course, this is where I want to hear from you guys in those comments down below. First off, based on what you guys have been seeing here, and for those of you guys that have used this gun since the update, how are you feeling about the current state of the DG58 LSW? Do you think it's balanced really nicely now? Do you think maybe they overbuffed it and it's a little bit too powerful? And then on top of that, I do have some plans for a future video talking about some more guns that I feel could use some buffs and some love. Guns that have been really underwhelming for the majority of the life cycle of this game. And I've already got a list in mind, but I am curious to hear from you guys down below before I make this video. What other guns do you consider to be just too weak in the game's current state that could really use some love to bring them up to the point where they're actually worth using? Just let me know down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.